my computer. Hold on, let me press. Got it. Right, am I up? Is this me going?
You're on.
Okay, cool. Yes. So hello everybody, I hope you guys are good. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I'm super grateful for you to be here. Friday night as well. You could be in a million other places and you've decided to be here, so good stuff. What I didn't want to do on a Friday night is kill you with death by PowerPoint. And actually my style of speaking, my way of presenting, my way of teaching is actually super interactive anyway. So what I thought I would do is just introduce myself a little bit to you, introduce kind of how I've ended up, I guess, why Claire's invited me to talk to you, a little bit about where I've come from, how I've ended up here. And then I'd really like to open up to Q&A and just to help you guys with some actual tangible things you're struggling with, give you some advice, some pointers to move forward, and hopefully help you guys get something that you can actually take away and implement. So the first question though, I want to understand, if possible, is who here's heard me speak before and who has never heard me speak before? Either in the comments or give us a wave. So who has heard me speak before? So a few of you. There's Joy. Hello, Joy. Long time. How are we doing? So there's a few of you, and there's actually quite a few of you who haven't, right? Quite a few new faces. Amazing stuff. Okay, cool. So in the comments for me again, so I can tailor this to be right for you. What sort of property businesses are you running? Are you flips? Are you buy-to-lets? Are you developers? Are you rent-to-rent? Are you brand new, not got a clue what to do or where to start? Like, what actually are you guys up to? Because that will help me just to make sure I talk about things that are relevant as opposed to things that you just don't care about, because I don't want to do that. Okay, so we've got SA, buy-to-let, looking for supported housing. Okay, cool. Developments, SAs, buy refurb finance, residentials, holiday lets. So those holiday lets, are they rent to rent or purchases, just out of interest? So a couple of you doing rent to rent as well, HMO. Okay, so we've got a good mix in here. Excellent stuff. Commercial to resi, rent to SA, refurbs, flips, refurbs and conversions. Okie dokie, excellent stuff. Right, that's what I needed. So also, just to kind of let you guys know, I am not in any way a structured public speaker. There's no choreographedness, there's no real, I mean, there's a plan in my head of the things I want to talk about, but if you want to jump in and ask a question, or you want me to dig into a point in more details, literally just come on audio and say, Sarah, what are you talking about? Explain yourself, because nothing's making sense. Because otherwise you'll be stuck, and I don't want that. I want to make sure that everything I say tonight, you can do something with. So just to give you a brief introduction to me, and I guess what qualifies me to be here talking to you guys tonight. I'm an ex-recruiter. I'm from the recruitment industry. I worked in recruitment for quite a long time. I worked for one of the biggest recruitment companies in the world, and I started there when I was about 23. So 2008, what happened in 2008? Does anyone remember? Everything just went to shit, right? So in 2008 is when I started in recruitment, and nobody was recruiting. It was a pretty savage place to be. And I managed to build a desk and build a business inside of another business, obviously. I was the top billing consultant in the country. I was very much sales led. I learned that actually when I led with service as opposed to selling led with money, I tended to be more successful. And that is a string that kind of runs through absolutely everything I do still now today. So in 2008, I started in recruitment. By 2010, 11, I'd realized that whilst I was good at it, I really didn't enjoy working for somebody else. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this at all, but I felt like I was always working harder than my boss was working for way less of the results. So I don't like, there's some nodding heads going on here. Most people kind of get this. And to be honest, I didn't dislike my job. I just felt like I could do better for myself somewhere else. But honestly, I had no idea what to do. No idea what business to run. I was qualified for pretty much nothing because I got a joker's degree. I drank Jack Daniels really while I was at university, and that's pretty much all that I did. I do have a degree, but no one would ever be able to do anything substantial with it. And so in 2012, I decided to start a company in an attempt to try and get out of my job. And I started a photo booth company. I've no idea why. Photography was a bit of a hobby for me. And I started doing weddings and corporate events and things like this. And about 8 months later, I'd built the business to a point that actually I could give up my job, which was amazing. You know, most of us, or most of the clients that I work with now, their first milestone is to be able to replace their income with their business, whatever they're doing, right? Is to be able to get rid of their job. And I managed to do that in 8 months from starting my first company. I was super excited, as you can imagine. By the time that 2014 had come around, my business was failing. I had no idea what I was doing. I made every single possible mistake you could make running a business. I was also too proud to ask for help, and I was too proud to say that I didn't know what I was doing. I thought if I told anyone that I was failing, that basically it would just look like I was an idiot and people would laugh at me. And so I was embarrassed. And what actually then happened was I financially crumbled. So by the time that kind of middle of 2015 happened, I was about £60,000 in debt. I really didn't know what to do. I'd had to go back and get a job. Those of you who have ever given up your job to go self-employed, if you've ever not got, the step of going back to being employed after you've made that leap and you've kind of like middle fingered, I'm going to self-employed forever, and then you cock it up and you have to go backwards. It was a really painful thing. And it was a big thing for me to accept that actually I needed help. So in 2015, I got married. And when we were away on our honeymoon, we went to Colchester for a week. It wasn't quite the Maldives, but it was all we could afford at the time. And we had a great time. It was lovely. We talked a lot about what we wanted to do with our life. We talked a lot about, should we have a baby? Should we like buy a house? Should we get a dog? Like, should we go traveling? What should we do? And every single conversation came back to, we'd love to, but we've got no money. And in that week away, we talked a lot about what we could do to change it. And we made some decisions. And one of those decisions was that I'd heard about this thing called rent to rent. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and do that. Now, at the time, I was running a failing photography business. I'd had to go back to having a job because I couldn't sustain the other one. I still had to run my business because it was weddings and people had already paid me in advance and I'd spent the money, but still needed to do the job. So I was doing 2 jobs at the time. And that was, in my wisdom, that was the moment I felt I was going to start another company. And so I started a rent-to-rent business the week I got back from my honeymoon. And that was in like the end of the October. So I picked up my first phone calls the first week of November. I started ringing around agents like we kind of start to do. I didn't really know what I was doing at all. And by the 23rd of December, I had my first rent-to-rent deal. Now, I believe the only reason I had my first rent-to-rent deal that quickly was because I had a mentor and I was able to ask for help. I had totally accepted that I couldn't do things on my own. I got my first deal on the 23rd of December, 2015. I then went on early 2016. I started deal packaging, building portfolios for other people. And 2016 was the year that kind of changed everything for me because I built portfolios for people all over the UK. I billed £100,000 in fees in 12 months. Well, it was actually 99,000 and some pence, but I just like to round it up to 100 because it feels better for me. I missed it by pennies, which was really annoying. And so that year, I did that part-time whilst also doing all the other things. And for me, I realized that actually there was a way that I could make money from property, working for myself. And but January 2017 time, I sold my other company. I'd managed to kind of fix it a little bit to the point that I got my money back out of it. I didn't really make much, but I got a bit out of it. And I went full-time into property. So by the end of 2017, I'd managed to clear my £60,000 debt through a combination of rent to rent and deal packaging. It took me 23 months. I had sold my other business and I was full-time and I had a good wage. I had a good lifestyle at that point. And then from there, everything just kind of snowballed. And now I have a rent to rent portfolio. I have HMOs and I have service accommodation as well, contractor accommodation. I don't really do like Airbnb nightly stay type accommodation. I do contractor long stay. I do have a buy-to-let portfolio now in my own right. I own 2 letting agencies. I do refurbs and flips, and I'm just moving into my first development of building 11 houses. And I also have an education company that I own as well. So it's all a bit crazy in my world. I had no idea when I picked up the phone to make my first call for a rent to rent that what was coming was going to be what came. But it is the best decision I ever made. And I absolutely love working in this space. I love the people that I get to work with. I love doing stuff like this. I've won awards. I've been on some of the biggest stages I've spoken at Earl's Court. I've done incredible things. But I think one of my most favorite things to do is to see other people come through this journey as well, and be part of that, be in business with them, do deals with them. It's really exciting for me. So thank you for having me here tonight. And I would love to help any of you guys with anything that you've got that you need help with. I think some of the biggest challenges that I'm hearing about in the market at the moment are the market itself is definitely a challenge. Has anyone struggled in the last kind of 6 to 9 months in terms of like getting deals that are not completely overpriced or just ridiculous through agents not even talking to you? Has anyone else struggled with that? Yeah, a few of you. So this is across the board. So first of all, it's not you. And I think sometimes you can feel a little bit like soul destroyed that, well, hold on, everyone else is getting deals. Why aren't I getting deals? I think a lot of the success that we've had in the last 12 months has been down to relationships more than it has been down to absolutely anything else. So if there's one piece of advice I can give you right now, it's about doubling down on the relationship building part of things rather than going for deals. I think whilst that might seem a little bit counterintuitive, the more that you can make friends with agents that ring, like we've been bought a flip today, which is not on the market yet. It is, no one else has been allowed to see it. We've seen it today. We've got Tuesday, we've got an hour to take our builder to go and actually cost it up properly. We have an offer, we can get an offer in by Wednesday night. And if they don't accept that offer, then they'll show it to other people. So we've managed to close that off for a week with no contract, with no brown envelopes, none of that, just purely based on the relationship that we've got with the agent. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys are doing to build relationships with agents at the moment. Those of you that have been struggling with this piece, what sort of stuff have you been doing to build relationships with agents? Let's talk about it. Is that nothing? Have we done nothing? Or is that everyone's frightened of talking at me?
Sarah, can I jump in? Thanks for sharing your journey. That's really inspiring. And in terms of building relationship with estate agents, I haven't done much about it. I invest in London, so I do not have a specific gold mine area apart from whole central London. So as you are aware, there are a lot of agencies. I would like to ask, how do you normally build up relationship with agency? As far as I know now, I will call up in, let's say 3 weeks ago, I went for a viewing and didn't get accepted, and I just follow through today, which is 3 weeks later. That's what I normally do. And I have no idea how to build up the relationship further. How would you do that?
Okay, so the agent that you went to view the property with, how many times have you spoken to them?
So twice on the phone, and once on the phone and once in person.
And that was 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And is the house sold?
No, it fall through again, come back, came back.
And how many times have you spoken to them since your offer was rejected?
No, I haven't spoken to them.
That's the problem. Yeah, so what you need to be doing until the house is gone, and I mean like completed, because the deal's not done until someone's got the keys, right? That's we know this, deals fall out of bed all of the time. Be ringing them with rent to rents, I'd say be ringing them more regularly, but with purchases at least every 7 days, at least.
Sure.
I still want it. 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 Right. And the thing is, a lot of people worry about consistent following up. They worry that they're being too pushy or they're chasing too much. Or we have to remember is an agent's job is to sell that house. They don't get paid unless they sell that house. So actually what you're doing is you're giving them a tool for them to be able to do their job. And if it's not selling to anybody else and you want it, at some point the scales will tip in a way that will actually be, well, let's meet in the middle. Let's negotiate. What can we do to make it make sense, right? So your follow-up is so important. We put out offers, you know, we put out like multiple offers every single day. We offer on pretty much everything. All right, sometimes our offers are like ridiculous and we know they're never ever going to get accepted. But sometimes those low offers, 6, 9, 12 months down the line, they ring us back and they say, do you remember that offer? Are you ready to, because actually we actually have fallen out and we need it. Yeah, no problem. I think the way that we offer also really impacts the relationship building that we do with agents. So those of you that have seen me speak before, how do I offer that's different to most people? Can you remember? What is it that we do that's different to what most people do? Stick it in the comments. Jay, nailed it. Well done. Offer packs. So we've got like 3 packs in our business, like information packs. We have an agent pack, we have an offer pack, and we have an investor pack. An investor pack obviously is what we send to an investor. If an investor is going to buy it from us or invest in a deal or JV with us, that's kind of a separate thing. But there's 2 packs that we use to build relationships with agents. The first one is an agent pack, and that is before you've ever got to a deal discussion, positioning credibility, trust, and the ability to transact. Because again, agents don't care about anything else other than selling the house. They don't really care about anything else. That's it. Getting paid in full and on time, that's really all they do. So we capture them at the beginning and we take an agent pack to them to say, look, this is who we are. This is our company. These are the solicitors that we use. This is a letter from our accountants. Here's our AIP or our proof of funds or whatever it's going to be. And this is a track record of what we've done before. These are all the addresses that we've bought and sold. These, you know, if you've got the experience, obviously, if you haven't got it, don't lie. Don't just make this shit up, right? Make sure, because if they question you about it, you need to be able to answer questions. And that agent pack becomes your door opener. It becomes like a piece of a conversation that you can have. Now, 90% of them are going to throw this in the bin, right? Understand that, right? It's part of the game. Go for no. It doesn't matter how many times it gets thrown in the bin because you just need that one to actually read it, right? The second piece of this jigsaw puzzle is the offer packs and the way that we actually offer. So most people, and tell me if you can relate to this at all, right? Most people, when they offer, they will either ring the agent up and say, yeah, we want to offer, we can offer you 200 grand. And what do you need from me? The agent goes, let me ring the vendor. They say yes or no. And they call you back and they say yes or no. Yeah, that's, or they send an email, which is basically a one-liner. Yeah, we'd like to offer and we can offer X pounds. Yeah, most of you will probably nod in your head like this is pretty much what most people do. We put together a full presentation pack to make every single offer. And yes, it takes a shit ton of time, right? Yes, it does. And yes, 90% of my offers are rejected as well, same as you. And yes, that is loads more time spent doing that piece of work. But I can tell you the reason why I have more deals than most is because actually we put out so many of those. They know who I am because we position credibility, track record, authority, the ability to transact with our proof of funds. Our offer pack has everything in it. So just going that extra step to show them why you're the best offer to have accepted, why your offer is the one they should champion in front of their client, because that's the one that's going to actually transact. That's all that matters. Who's going to transact? Who's most likely to transact? Higher prices isn't always a decision making, right? We justify with price, but we don't necessarily always make the decision on price. So it's important to do your absolute best to make sure that that agent knows who you are, that you do what you say you're going to do, that you're good for the deal. And actually, if you get into a consistent follow-up process of that, why you will find that you'll naturally get more conversation happening.
That makes sense. In my the way I offer, I at the moment slightly, as you said, I actually adapt some of your offer pack structure to be comparable with
Yep.
proof of fund and also my offer and also bit of calculation. Do you think if there's any other ingredients I could put into?
Phone them and follow up.
I don't. I don't.
Like, that's the thing. Again, the biggest difference between people that do a lot of deals and the people that don't are that actually we don't mind ringing every single week to buy a house. We don't care. And I know that sometimes there's a way to phone up and follow up without being pushy. Yeah. If you phone me and say, hey, Sarah, I can see it's still on the market. We're still really interested. What's the holdup? What needs to happen for us to like talk so that we can get something done? If I'm an agent, if I'm in sales mode, I'm going to entertain that conversation because I want it off my books. I don't want it sat there doing nothing. No one makes any money while it's sat on the board, right? Yeah. So make sure you're doing your following up. Otherwise, all of that work you've put into that pack, it's a waste of time.
Sure. You mentioned the part of the dialogues between the agents, follow up. Anything else you normally, when you follow up, what would you normally say to them?
It's me again. I still want to buy your house. Like,
yeah, makes sense.
I think there's nothing, I mean, as you can probably tell, there's nothing formal about me ever. Yeah. It's very much, I'm just ringing up. It's Sarah. We spoke last week. I want the house. It's still on the market. I'm ready to give you the money. Why don't you want it? How do we meet in the middle? And so, you know, with some agents, they're a bit more formal, and there's techniques to mirror and match, like the vibe of the person you're speaking to. So, you know, if they talk slow down. If they're high energy, be high energy. If they say that they've got no time to talk on the phone, then drop in with a like bag of biscuits or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, just think slightly deeper into how can I have more conversations with this person? And if worst comes to worst, just literally have a conversation. Say, look, what's it going to take? What's it going to take?
I never asked that question, but I think that's hugely important.
What's it going to take is a really powerful negotiation question. When you've exhausted all other, like, you can't just start with that because it's quite challenging. But if all other options are gone and it's on the market, the numbers are the numbers. It's not making any sense. Why? What's it going to take? And it might be, well, actually, if you can go up by another $2,000, we'll get it. But unless you do that, I can't do it. You've got just brass tacks. Let's just get to it. And if you can do it, great. And if you can't, then you have to walk away from it.
Perfect. That's brilliant. I'm going to call it up on Monday and I'll keep you updated.
Good.
Yes. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
What other questions have we got?
I've just posted in chat that's genius. I mean, the pack is absolute genius. I've never thought about it like that. I suppose most people haven't. It's just, I'll make an offer, I'll make an offer. You've differentiated yourself from the competition absolutely immediately with every agent in town. The first time you do that, that's genius. Total genius.
And I think the difference, I mean, obviously I teach people this, so I'm not the only person that's doing it now, but the market is so big. And most people do it once or twice and then get bored because they get rejected and they never do it again anyway, right? So if you can just be consistent with this, everyone will know who you are. And even if the agent moves from agency to agency to agency, like they tend to do for an extra £1,000 a year, whatever it is that they do, well, the next time you send a pack, they're going to go, oh, I remember you from that last agent. I remember you from that thing that you did. Get your branding everywhere so that they remember you. Document your journey. Be talking to people, drop in and have a cup of tea, like be everywhere. And the phone will ring.
Sarah, do you have any tips? Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
Do you have any tips then for people that are working full time whilst trying to do all of this? Because obviously time is
hard.
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of things on this. One of the most important tools that I have in my business, even now, that I started to use when I was full-time. And I was full-time in a job and I ran a business, and then I started this. Like, it's a common knowledge. Anyone that's heard me speak before, I say this a lot. I genuinely built my property business while sending messages on Gumtree while having a wee, because it was the only time I had 5 minutes that I could just send messages out on Gumtree. Like, I crammed it all in as much as I could. It was hard, and I remember it. And actually, it was soul destroying at times because you were trying to figure it all out. What I'd say to you is get a journal. And if you've never journaled before, I mean, we have a journal now that we've built, that it's actually my business partner's journal, but it's kind of structured in a way that works perfectly for me as a property entrepreneur. But it's designed to just help you be a bit more in control of your time. Time blocking is a good thing. Waking up every day and practicing gratitude. I know that's like a bit woo for a lot of people. They're like, why on earth? How's that going to impact my time? Just waking up every morning and realizing that actually you're happy helps you just kickstart your whole day in a completely different energy. And when you're high energy and you're in a place of gratitude and you feel grateful for stuff, you want to spend 5 minutes while you're having a wee, just doing something new. Like, you want to just grab time where you can. When you're like, oh, woe's me, it's raining again and I've got a flat tire, you don't want to grow a business, right? So I think the more you can do to be in control of what's up here, the inner narrative and all of that sort of stuff, the best. And I can happily send you guys a link for the journal that we use. It's brilliant, and I would highly recommend it. Other than that, what I'd also say is direct to vendor, direct to landlord stuff. Do you, Leanne, do you work like 9 to 5? Are you in the day, or you shift, or what do you do?
No, I work, well, 9 to 5, yeah.
Okay, so I would say to you, target direct to vendor or direct to landlord, because they are also probably 9 to 5ers.
Okay.
So actually having phone calls, weekends, evenings is actually going to be better for them. Be available to have a call at 8:30 when the kids have gone to bed and they've had their dinner. Do your calls then, because actually agents aren't having calls with them then. Like, other people that do what we do aren't having calls with them then. Differentiate yourself by understanding your audience. Before you worry about yourself, worry about them. When you worry about what they need and you show up when they need you, they're more likely to do business with you. And I found that, so I did rent to rent, like early days when I was like around other things. I would say to them, well, is it okay if we have a call at 8:30? And they'd say, that's brilliant, actually, because I'll have done work, our kids will be in bed, I'll have had my dinner, I'll have a glass of wine, and we can have a proper conversation. Brilliant. Differentiate yourself. Like, don't worry about trying to fit it in your 9 to 5. If you're busy and you want to concentrate.
So funny hearing you say that,
like,
considering Leanne is a client of mine and we had the conversation at 7 p.m. so her and a fella could both make it for an hour, and we had a perfectly giggly time, which I think ended with beers at 8 o'clock. But yeah, it's amazing to hear you actually say that as a strategy, because I'd not thought of that as a strategy. I was just trying to help Leanne out.
The underlying strategy to success in all of this, as far as I'm concerned, is work out who your client is, work out what they need, show up, give them what they need, and you'll be paid as a consequence. It doesn't matter whether you're purchasing houses or training or like pensions or whatever. It really doesn't matter. Work out who your client is, work out how you help them, work out where they're hanging out, go there and show them how you can help them. And if you do that and you do it well enough, you will make money as a consequence. If you try and make money just to make money, you'll never make money. The second I stopped chasing money was the second my bank balance just switched on its head. I just decided, you know what, I'm broke anyway, so I've got nothing to lose. Let's just fucking give it a go. And I drove with service over sales, and I ended up selling because of that. And so I think, Leanne, for you with that, try and just think a little bit like, actually, I'm going to work with what I can do rather than fight against what I can't do. Because again, you get this guilt. I used to get this guilt, like, I'm in my job, but I'm thinking about my business, and I'm trying to text and work on my business whilst also trying to show up for my boss. And I'm somebody that likes to do what I say I'm going to do. And I didn't like being split. And so actually I was like, you know what? When I'm here and I'm doing this bit, I need to embrace this for a minute, because this is what's paying me to eat. And actually it was nuts and bolts. I need to pay my mortgage. So if I lose this job, I'm screwed. I'll build this over here, but I'll give this the respect that it needs for right now, because I understand it's not forever. And when you just do that, it changes that headspace a minute. Those people that are going to work going like, I hate being here, it's awful, I want to work on my business, I resent it, I hate it. It's going to take them 10 times longer to build their businesses because they're at it with this real negative space. Well, do you know what? Give it the respect it deserves for a minute, because it's what's affording you the privilege of being able to spend time on growing a business until the scales tip, and then get rid of it and just do your thing.
Cool, thanks.
Any other questions?
I was going to ask, actually, I know that some people have asked me before to go into or get somebody on to go into a little bit about how to do direct to vendor. I don't know if you can elaborate on some techniques that you guys do. That'd be great, because I know some people have asked me to get that information.
So pre-COVID, we would just talk to everybody we met. Everybody, whether I was in the pub drinking wine, like my friends joke, they say I'm the only person that would be able to network at a funeral. Like I tell everybody what I do, and I probably wouldn't network at a funeral, but who knows? I don't know. But I think the important thing is to just be visual about stuff. In COVID, we had to learn new ways of getting in front of people, and actually Facebook advertising is incredible. Bit of a disclaimer first before I go into this. If you really don't know what you're doing with Facebook advertising, and you don't know who you're targeting, and you've not really thought about tech and targeting and like audience and all that sort of stuff, then Facebook ads is a really brilliant way to waste an absolute shit ton of cash. Try not to do that. But if you've gone through the process, we do a 5-day challenge, and on day one, it's all about raising money using social media, right? And on day one, we talk about ideal client, because ideal client actually is the best thing. And a lot of people say to me, well, who cares who my ideal, there's no such thing as an ideal client when you're trying to buy houses. I just want to buy a 3-bed terrace in Northampton for 100 grand that needs 50 grand spending on it that I can sell for 220. I don't care about the person. I just want the bricks, right? Well, the bricks are owned by a human being. And it's the human being that's the thing that's going to be your barrier or your gate to walk through. Yeah. So it's the human being that you've got to get in front of before you worry about the bricks. So I would say that with direct to vendor, Facebook advertising is brilliant if you know who you want to target, because you can then say, okay, well, I want to target this road in Northampton. How that hurt. I had my jab today. My arm's hurting when I do this. So I want to target this road in Northampton, and I want to target women who are recently divorced, who are ages 35 to 50, who are interested in, I don't know, Jimmy Choos. Let's just choose that as an example. You can go that deep on advertising on Facebook. If you don't know that that's the sort of person you're targeting, then you actually can't target anybody. So I'd say the first step with direct to vendor is trying to figure out who it is you want to speak to. If Facebook advertising is not your forte, actually the traditional methods still work. Sticking a letter for a rundown house still works. Like sending out leaflets. So I've never done leaflets, so to speak, like the We Buy Any House type leaflets. But what I have done is handwritten notes through rundown houses loads, and they work a lot. I have done and continue to do classified ads in the back of classified newspapers, you know, like not putting adverts into like the property bit of a paper, but you know, at the back where they advertise washing machines and stuff, like at the back of your local paper, and they'll have like washing machines, and they'll have miscellaneous and those little bits, and they get like £1, one line adverts. We can advertise in there free most of the time. Most people don't know that. We used to just put a one-liner in the back of the paper that would say, are you fed up being a landlord? Call us. We want long-term property. We want to rent a company on a long-term let or something like that. And we would get loads of calls off of that. It was great because my audience was at the time older men who were fed up being landlords so that I could get them as rent-to-rent deals. Older men aren't on Facebook. Like that my audience weren't on Facebook, they weren't on Snapchat, they weren't on Twitter, but they read the newspaper every single week, and they would read the classifieds at the back, know your audience, know where they're hanging out, go there and talk to them. If your audience aren't on Facebook, then Facebook advertising is not going to work for you. If you're trying to target like 16-year-olds, I'm not sure why we would in property, but let's say you would, then probably TikTok's where you want to be, not Facebook, because Facebook's not cool for a 16-year-old to be on. Know who your audience are, work out where they're hanging out, go there and talk to them. I think geofencing is also a really clever thing that you can do with Facebook advertising. Do you guys know what geofencing is? So if you're trying to, I don't understand it to the intricacies of, I wanted to, again, little disclaimer, I understand what it does, but I actually pay someone else to do mine for me because I don't fully know how to technically do it. But I can say to somebody, okay, I want to target every person that walks in and out of Taylor's estate agents on the high street in Newport Pagnell. And so you can geofence an advert to within half a kilometre, I think it is, on that address, so that anyone who walks in and out of that location on a map will get hit with your advert. Now, the chances are, I don't know, most towns have got like an agency row. I don't know if you know about this. So our town, we've got all of our agents are all on the same road. So if I just geofence that road, obviously we're going to get stragglers of other people coming in and out of that area. But anyone going in and out of an estate agent is going to be hit with my advert. And so they can then hit my website and then I can retarget them and just remind them that we're a better option than the other agents that they've been to see. So geofencing is a really interesting thing for people to pick up on for direct to vendor as well, because you pick up on the vendors as they're going into the agents to talk to them about using an agency. So you kind of grab them at the right time. Sorry, that usually blows heads up. It blew my head up when I first heard about that. I was like, what is this magic? I can't understand.
Just completely. Never heard of that. Mental. Absolutely astonishing. But
you can do it in any industry. So if you wanted another really great idea, again, this is why I don't do slides, because ideas just come, like things come to me. If you wanted to target landlords for rent to rent, and there was a landlord show on an Excel, you just drop a geofenced ad on the Excel building for the day that says, if you're a landlord looking for long-term tenants, then call this number or text this number. And you can run it at super, like you could do like £2.50, £3, £10 a day and just test your budgets on it. But it's so targeted because everyone coming into that building is either a landlord or an investor or someone to do with property, because they come into the show. Like if you were looking for corporate bookings for your serviced accommodation, for example, and there was a HR show on at the NEC, you would drop a geofenced ad on the NEC for the day, because it's HR and finance that book serviced accommodation for traveling workforce. So think about who's your audience, work out where they are, and just go there and put your stuff in front of them. I hope that answers the question, Claire.
That was amazing. I think my head's exploded.
Sorry. It's there on a Friday. We need a gin at this time of day.
I'm like, right, I'm on that. I have no idea how to do it, but I'll find out. No,
I mean, if anyone wants an introduction to like my ads manager, I'm happy to make the introduction, but she costs a lot of money every month to do that, but we've got the budgets to do it. And so I think there's this kind of middle ground. You can actually do geofencing adverts yourself. Like I put one on yesterday myself, and there's nothing particularly intelligent. Like I'm not anything special when it comes to tech at all. Like, and I can do it. So most people can figure it out. It comes up with a map. You drop the pin in the middle on the address that you want, and then you can do an exclusion pin, and you just do the exclusion pin. So it creates a circle around the pin. Everything blue is what you want, and anything red is what you won't have. And so actually the ad will just go straight over that little blue bit.
Sarah, do you not do Gumtree marketing, that kind of things?
Yeah, so we still use Gumtree, we still use OpenRent, we still use all of those. Gumtree's pretty saturated now, I think, because people trained it and loads of people do it. But the thing with these sites is get the alerts set up based on your criteria of what you want, get it to email you when something comes on. And when it does, make contact. But instead of trawling through pages and pages and pages of Gumtree, I'd say set the alerts up, set the Rightmove alerts up, Open Rents, Zooplas, all of those. And that works quite well.
I'd love to have a chat with your marketing advertising manager.
Well, so Bryn, obviously, when Martha emails you next week, if you just say to her, can you make an introduction to Sam? We can make that happen as well.
Magic, thanks. Because we've got budget. It's just as I think I said in the breakout room, I've just about learned to put an app on my phone. I mean, I don't know how to make an ad. I don't know how to put a picture and words together in the state. I just don't know how to do that.
I'd happily help you.
It's ridiculous. I know. In this day and age, I just don't know how to create an ad. I know who my ideal client is and I know where they are, but I just don't even know how to create an ad to find, to send out to them. It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's not ridiculous. I think you don't know what you don't know, right? And once you're shown it, you probably get it. So I'm more than happy to help you with that. I think one of the important things you have to remember when you're using advertising is when someone clicks on your ad or acts or does the thing, the call to action that you're asking, whether it's to call you, text you, fill in a form, whatever it is, you need to have somewhere for those people to go, right? So GDPR and the ICO tell us legally that we have to have up-to-date CRM systems. We have to have a system that's like encrypted and secure and all this sort of stuff. So you also really do need a funnel and a CRM.
Yeah, I know we've got CRM. We had a landing
Yeah.
page as well. It's just I can't make an ad to get to the landing page, to get to the funnel, which is insane. I mean, I've mentioned the part of the funnel to you, a free 9-page download to SaaS.
Yeah.
I mean, who isn't going to click on a free 9-page download to SaaS if they're interested in it? But I just can't get the advert. I know it's insanity. So yeah.
We'll
You don't know what you don't know. You're absolutely right. And
absolutely.
You're blowing my mind away. So I think everybody else in the audience is probably a bit like, wow. So.
Any other questions? Oh, by the way, Claire, I could talk forever, so you'll have to shut me up. At the point you want me to leave, just switch me off and I'll go.
You're fine. We normally do the next breakout room about 9 o'clock, so we've still got another 5 minutes if anyone wants
okay,
to
cool.
anything. That's great.
Can I ask a quick question about
go
art? Sarah, is when we as property investing, at what case scenario we should use art? If we want, do people use art to buy BMV's deal or to attract the investor? Do they use art for that?
Okay, so this might be controversial, but I think BMV is a bullshit concept. I don't think it's a thing. I think if we were out there looking for BMV, I think we're all going to fail. That's just not a business strategy that really works anymore. Yes, okay, there are the unicorn deals out there that sometimes you can just land. They definitely exist, right? I've bought some, so they do. What I'd encourage everyone to do is to just think a little bit cleverly about adding value rather than BMV, right? If you can add value to a property, you can pay asking price, which means you actually can go to Rightmove and just buy a house. You actually can just go and meet a vendor and you don't have to screw them on the price for you to make a profit. Like, all right, there's lots of people that have made a lot of money from buying below market value. I get it, whatever works for them. For me, if you can add a loft conversion, an extension on the back, or turn that house into 3 flats, or do something that's just a little bit more creative than screwing the price, you are going to build a much better business. So in terms of where you should use ads, if direct to vendor is what you want and you're trying to attract people who are selling their homes, ads really works. It works really, really well. We know this because estate agents do it, and that's all we are, right? That we are just estate agents. If the question is this kind of, the yellow dirty marketing strategy where, we buy any house for cash or whatever it is, 28 days completion, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately with those, I think there's a thing that's missed with that is that we actually forget about the mental health of the people that we're targeting. And most of the time, and Trish McGreer talks a lot about this. If any of you guys know Trish McGreer, she's like a champion of this topic. And she definitely explains it way better than I ever could. But most of those people who are selling their houses 50% below market value, they're only doing it because they're fucked, right? And it's because financially they're broken, their lives are falling apart. If we then go and take their house at 50% below market value, we're actually, we're borderline vultures. It feels a bit like that. It's not always, and I'm not tarring anyone with any brushes, but sometimes it can feel a bit like that. When actually, if you go and just pay them what it's worth and add some value to it, you can make just as much money. We as an industry can make just as much money. We can look after the mental health of the person. We can look after the well-being of another human being. We can contribute good shit to the world, and we get rich at the same time. Why do we always need to have BMV? Sorry, I feel like I'm on a soapbox right now, but we don't actually have to always buy cheap. We don't have to. I've paid way over asking price for stuff because I could see what they couldn't see. And if you're learning what to see, then go and find a good like planning person, an architect, somebody like that that's in your power team who can advise you on, well, actually, you see that 3-story house, you did this, this, and this, you could turn that into 3 flats, and this would generate you this. Have the right people around you to look for opportunity in a different way. Agents will prefer it because they're going to make the same money. You're not always screwing them on the numbers. Paying over asking price is way better than paying below market value because your competition is like way less.
Yeah, agree with you. I bet one of my agents, he said that it was commercial conversion project, and yes, one buyer actually offered a higher price because the buyer had a creative strategy to add additional value.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And also you've got, you know, everyone borrows at different rates, and everyone's build teams work at different speeds, and everybody's deal is going to be structured in a different way. So what you can pay and what someone else can pay is not really comparable. So you've got to just assess it based on your situation. You know, some people borrow at 4% and some people borrow at 12%. Well, someone borrowing at 12% is going to have to pay less for the house to make it make sense than the person borrowing at 4%. And sometimes it's literally just that, the differentiator. On £100,000 house, that's a big chunk of difference, right? When you're dealing with £1 million houses, £10 million houses, it is kind of negligible a lot of the time. But when you've got like a 70 grand house, borrowing at 4% versus borrowing at 12, the 12% borrower is not going to be able to afford to do that deal and make money. They're just not. So understand your criteria, borrow for as little as you possibly can, obviously, or use your own money. I know that's controversial as well. I know we're told never use your own money, right? But I mean, use your own money if you've got it. Don't pay someone else money when you don't have to. You actually can charge yourself interest. If you've got a good accountant, they can show you how to do this, right? Your 4% that you would normally pay to someone else, you can pay it to yourself from company to company. Like, there's all clever stuff that you can do. But yeah, add value. I think
I'll take your advice to look from this angle rather than to drill down to kind of question. And on that note is that how do people use Facebook ads to attract investor into, and what have you seen?
So I don't use ads to get investors at all. I never have. I don't think you need to. You're in a room full of investors here. Why do we need to use ads for investors? I don't think we do. I think there is some key stages to understand or to attracting investors. Work out who your ideal client is. Start to be more visible online. Document what you're doing every day, like every single day. Put something online, sharing what you're doing. Gather social proof, whether it's character social proof from this room. If you all gave each other a piece of social proof to say, we hang out every week, every Friday night, really good guy, would totally work with him, feels like a trusted pair of hands, like whatever, you could give each other a character reference. Well, that's like, what is there, 5, 10, 15, there's like 25 people here. That's 25 weeks worth of social proof if you posted one a week every week for half a year, right? There's opportunity everywhere. Document what you're doing, social proof, and intentional outreach. So intentional outreach is where, if you're in a Facebook group, I don't know, let's say that, let's just take this 25 people. Let's say you'd never met each other ever before, right? If you, I don't know if you guys know this, if you touch your mouse, everybody's names comes up on their little box.
Yeah.
Take a screenshot of that. And then once you get off the call, go on Facebook and find every single person, intentionally outreach to them and say, hey, Darren Burrows, I saw you on the event last night. How did you find it? What do you do? What do you get up to? Da, 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 da. Oh, I do this. Oh, okay. I'm actually looking for an investor for that, or I'm looking for this. You don't need ads. Build relationships by just opening conversation with people. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
You have shown me a lot. Thank you tonight.
Pleasure.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We'll have to get you back again.
My pleasure.
Hi guys, can I ask
Definitely.
a question, Sarah? Sorry to butt in.
Of course you can.
I'm
Yeah.
a mute. We're West Wales. We're a long way away from everybody, and we're finding that there is zero things to buy. There's just nothing touching. There's nothing. Even when you go in chat, there's nothing there. So if you've got sort of anything sort of strategies wise or thought processes on that?
I mean, I think I'm not as far out as you. So I'm just about to buy a house in Cardiff at the minute, and that's probably as far into Wales as I generally go. I guess if there really genuinely is nothing, have you looked at another area would be my question. You know, sometimes Milton Keynes for me. So when I first started, Milton Keynes had Article 4. So creating HMOs on a rent-to-rent basis was really, really difficult. And so whilst I wanted to be there, I just couldn't be there. It just wouldn't have worked. So I went to the next city, which was Northampton. I now live in Northamptonshire because it's like loads cheaper here, and I can live in a cottage in the countryside for the same price as what a postage stamp costs in Milton Keynes. So I live here. So I would look at maybe the consideration of other areas. However, if that's not practical, which sometimes it's not, like I get like traveling and all that sort of stuff can be a bit of a pain. Is there a shift in what is your strategy? What do you do? Like bog standard buy-to-lets or HMOs or what?
We're on the service accommodation holiday let route.
Okay, fine. And do you buy or do you rent to rent?
We buy.
You're buying, okay. And are you buying flats? Are you buying houses? If you could, what would you be buying?
Cottages.
Cottages, okay. So have you considered looking at a different criteria than cottages? So whether
we don't specifically say cottage, it's actually whatever comes up really,
is for sale.
Parking, yeah.
I mean, there's definitely less, I mean, and this is everywhere right now compared to what it was 6 months ago. There's just nothing on the market right now. There just is nothing coming on. I think we're starting to see this whole stamp duty change coming in, and
we've also increased, sorry to interrupt, we've also increased, they say that we've probably gone up by 15-20% in price as well. So
yeah,
we want to go rural now.
So have you done any like targeted letter campaigns or anything like that?
No.
So maybe consider that, because if there's nothing coming on the market, you have to think, why doesn't things come on the market? Well, it will be because people think that it won't sell, or that actually it's not the right time, or whatever it is. If you like highlighted actual properties that would work for you, and I know this is a bit more time consuming, but if you said, right, okay, in this town, there's 100 houses that, or 100 cottages or whatever that would work for us. We've kind of done the assessment on it. We think it could work. Write 100 letters and post 100 letters to those people, and post one like every 3-4 weeks until they ring you and tell you to stop. Like if they tell you to stop, then stop. That's the rule. But if they don't ever tell you to stop, then just keep sending them letters. And just in each letter, say something slightly different, but ultimately lead with, we're buying in this area and your house is absolutely the perfect house for us. We'd really like to have a conversation. We'd really like to have a conversation. We'd really like to have a conversation. And maybe have a look at doing that, because if what you're doing right now is not working, don't keep doing it, because that's crazy. And also soul destroying, I imagine, if there just is nothing. So just maybe give some targeted stuff a go. If you can, let's say you created a list of 100, you said, right, for the next 3 months, we're going to target this 100 houses and see if we can just buy one of them. you know, you only need 1 or 2, right? Or 4 in a year, or however many you're targeting, right? But maybe just try that and send them a sequence, or even just go and hand deliver them a letter. Someone opens the door and say, look, we're looking to buy in this street. We love this house and we just wanted to give you our contact details. If you're open to talking, give us a call.
Yeah.
You might get invited in for a cup of tea and a chat. It's happened to
Here, we'd never get away. It would be like 4 hours chat. So
yeah, but 4 hours of chats might lead to a house, right?
good. Yeah, it's good. Thank you. That's a really good plan. Thank you.
Relationships, I think, is the key.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Amazing.
And your name's obviously not Graham. What's your actual name?
It's Teresa.
Teresa. Okay, cool.
That's amazing advice again, Sarah. Really thinking outside the box. I really like that. And as you've said, it's relationships. If you keep sending somebody a letter saying, can we please talk? Can we please talk? Can we please talk? They'll either ring you up or they'll tell you to stop. And if they tell you to stop, they'll still ring you up.
Exactly that.
You just ask them about if the neighbour's for sale. I mean, I mean, you're obviously really good at chit chat, which I think Claire is. I mean, a lot of people.
So shall I tell you something? I'm actually, if I like walk into a room of people I don't know, when I'm invited to be here, I can be confident because I know what I'm talking about. Like I do this is my job. It's just how I spend my life. If I had to walk, honestly, the first networking event I ever went to in property, I arrived, I checked in, I hid in the toilet for 20 minutes on my phone, Gumtree and landlords. I just want to add that. And then I came out, I saw the speaker speak and I left. I didn't speak to a person. I didn't network with anyone. I was terrified. I'm actually not very good in that sort of environment at all, but knocking on someone's door would terrify me. Like I'd much rather do this and know what I'm talking about and be in control of the conversation than I would knock on a stranger's door. But I think you have to do it. You have to be brave. So yeah, Teresa, I reckon you should go and do that.
You say that, I literally moved into this house on Saturday. My husband took the dog for a walk the other day, and there's a house that's like really overgrown and everything. So every day I walk past it, and the other day there was a lady outside opposite, and I said, "Oh, morning," like that, as you do. But I didn't speak to her at that point because I got a dog and she had a cat, so I thought not the best time. So, but I will keep walking by, and then at one point I'll say, "Does anyone actually live in that house?" And just like say, just get that, because yeah, it is literally a tree growing in the conservatory and stuff like that. It's amazing.
Honestly, this stuff works. So I moved into the village I'm in February 2020, and I've always lived in Milton Keynes. So I didn't know anyone, know anything or anything like that. And I could take the dog for a walk around the village, and there was a house similar, Claire, that it's a beautiful house, nothing wrong with it. It's like the most incredible house you've ever seen. And at the bottom of their garden, by the little brook that runs, there's this overgrown chicken run. And I desperately want chickens, but my garden's not big enough. I've got 2 murderous cats and a dog, right? So every day for a year, through COVID, I walked past this chicken run, and I was like, I could have chickens in there. They're not using it. I could use their chicken run. And this one day I thought, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to write them a letter, and I'm going to put it in a letterbox, and I'm going to ask them if I can borrow their chicken run to have my chickens in. And they phoned me back and they said, yeah, why not? Let's share some chickens. And so we're going to set that up, because I hand wrote a letter and I just was brave and I stuck it through the letterbox. And, you know, people open their post. It works.
I would just add to that as well quickly. It's definitely worth knocking on people's doors, and most people won't do it, as you say, Sarah, and it scares the shit out of me as well. But I don't do it regularly, but I went through a little spate of doing it about probably a couple of years ago. And I went out one night, and the target was to get into 10 properties. And I think we knocked on 11 doors, about 3 or 4, there was no one in, and about 4 or 5 let us in. This was about 8:30 at night. I said, yeah, come in. They had for sale signboards outside. And they were like, yeah, come in, walked us around, showed us around the houses. So it proves that this stuff does work, but you just got to have a bottle to do it.
It does work.
Yeah.
100%. So any last questions for Sarah before I stop the recording? Because that has been really useful. Sarah, are you okay if I put this into our Facebook group?
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, if you're on Instagram, I am Sarah Poynton with a Y. drop me a DM and say that you were on Claire's event, and I've got a few things that I can send you that might be just useful. If you're on Facebook, just Sarah Poynton Ryan, come and connect with me, add me as a friend, send me a message, whatever you want to do. Please do reach out to me, because I really love this stuff, and if I can help you to do it by doing what I also enjoy, then everyone's winning. So I'd love to be able to help you guys with anything that I've said tonight. If you just want clarification on it, yeah, talk to me.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. You happy to stick around for a half an hour breakout room? Yeah, fabulous. So what we do, we'll open up the breakout rooms now. I've reset them all up again, and then we'll come back after in about half an hour. If anyone wants to log off, you can. That's up to you at any time now. If not, after the breakout room, then we have a general sort of chit chat for half an hour or so. Or if Brendan has his way, it'll be till 2 in the morning.
I'm getting gin if it's till 2 in the morning, just letting that be known.
I've got gin, look. I had no tea, but I'm having gin, so I'll be slurring soon.
There's no calories in gin, so it's fine.
I'm recording this. Right?